Okay then. Good morning, everyone. Today is Monday, March 29th, 2021. This is our weekly commissioner status update. The time is 11:02 a.m. Officially calling this meeting to order. Attending Commissioners Duncan, Brooks, and Filios. And okay, do we have any changes to the agenda? Hearing none. First item, replacement of the plotter and scanner information technology potential action item. Bill? Oh, Grant, I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for your time on this. Basically, what happened is we've got the main plotter upstairs that sits behind the deputy and heavily used by the assessor and probably about a 10% ratio used by the recorder's department. Plotter was 14 to 15 years old, finally gave it up. So we do have funding in the IT capital budget in surplus from a firewall project that we could replace this with. And we're basically just asking to do that. On a side note, there is another potential gain from this. These plotters, they don't make them without scanners anymore. And the recorder's department has a large format scanner that is about the same age as that old plotter. It's about 14 years old. So we've talked to the recorder. They have no problem going down there to use the scanning function of this because they don't use it a lot. It's just when they do need it, they do need one of these large wide format scanners. So we'll kill two birds with one stone here and replace the scanner and the plotter in one. H&H has given us a fantastic price on this. It was originally a $14,500 machine, and they know we're kind of in a pickle and we're very good customers of theirs. They have this funding they can throw at things like this, and they're gonna knock off $6,800 on this device, so we can get it for $7,500. It's a good opportunity. So I just basically asking permission from the board to use existing funding out of capital.
You checked into fixing it though?
Oh yeah.
And they said?
Absolutely not. There's no parts available. You can't.
And then my question was, how often do you use this?
Very often. It's the #1 producer of maps for the county.
Okay. Any other questions for Grant? This is used, what, on a virtually daily basis?
Yeah, used enough that actually H&H is bringing in a loaner plotter for us to use until this new one can actually be shipped.
Okay, all right.
We really can't operate without one.
Fair enough. Any other questions for Grant?
Nope.
I guess we need a motion.
Yeah, I'd move that we replace the plotter with a plotter scanner for IT.
Want to state a price, please?
Oh,
What is it, for $7,500?
$7,500.
Okay.
$500.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the motion is carried. Go right ahead, Grant.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Okay. Second item. Panhandle Board of Health resume submissions. This is a general discussion. We're not going to be taking a vote today. Just a little bit of background. We have one term that's expiring. That's a 5-year term that's coming up for expiration in June. That's Jay Nelson's, who has decided not to reapply. We've had, I don't have a precise count, but about a dozen resumes that we have received. And so we'll be considering those. I think what we need to do today is come up with at least a process for evaluating these resumes and coming up with a recommendation. We should have these over to Panhandle Health. The absolute drop dead date when I spoke with Laura Whalen is May 3rd, but we really ought to be shooting for, the end of April. And so what we need to do today is come up with a process to decide how many people we're going to interview, whether we each supply a name, whether we interview 5 or 6. Any thoughts?
Well, I would say, first of all, I've gone through each resume and I've narrowed it down to about 7 that I would consider. And then I would suggest that each of the other commissioners do the same thing. Can you do the same thing and find out if our lists are similar? And if they are, then pick how many of those we interview. If it's 1, we'll certainly we'll interview. But if there's 3 or 4 that we have that are similar, then it would behoove us to interview each. This is an important position, as we found out.
Leslie?
I agree with that. And If we wanted to be consistent with advisory positions,
Yes.
And we have 17 applicants actually, and I'm glad to hear that you have 7 that I'm not sure if I narrowed it down to 7 because there's some really good people who've applied. I would suggest that we replace both, because what we can do is, since we have several medical people to go with, we could appoint the MD to a 5-year position, and then take the 2 years remaining on the second position and then fill it with a secondary position, and then have the 2 years to see if that person's a good fit.
So you're suggesting replacing Dr. McClandris as well?
Yes. Which is what this board has done throughout the advisory boards, has taken a look at. And obviously, I don't think we've ever gotten 17 applications for one advisory board. So there is a lot of interest in this particular board. So that's what I would suggest. And then that way that one person has a 2-year period that, if it's a good fit, then they stay on and we reappoint them, or if not, we do this process over.
I have a problem with that because I disagree a lot with some of what I've heard the doctor say and the way he's voted, but I don't think he's done anything to warrant being removed.
Well, I would suggest be an executive session then next time we meet, so I can bring up those things.
Okay, so why don't we do this? Well, let me ask you a question. If you have an employee that served for 30 years and made a decision that might have been controversial, would you fire that employee?
That's a way wide open question. It really depends. That's why we can schedule an executive session, and I can explain exactly my reasoning.
Okay. Can I make a suggestion? Bill, you're the liaison.
Mm-hmm.
Would you speak with Dr. McClandris?
Sure.
And because we do have, I think, 3 physicians that have applied, if I'm not mistaken, at least 3.
That's correct.
And see if, in fact, he truly wants to continue.
Okay, I'll be happy.
And if he does, we'll take it up at that time. And if you want to proceed to an executive session, we can certainly do that.
Okay,
Is that fair?
that's fine.
Reasonable?
Yep.
Okay. But with regard to the one that is coming up for expiration, which is in June, clearly, I'm not going to interview 17 people, and I'm not going to interview 12. I think at some point we have to narrow down, and that's the first pass, and that comes from the evaluation of the resumes. So why don't we come up with a reasonable number that we can put forward and then interview and then work our way down from there? I'm fine with 6.
Yeah, I'm fine with 6.
You're fine with 6? You're
Yeah,
fine
that's
with
fine.
6, okay. The objective, I guess, ideally, is to come up with probably not more than 3 names ultimately that we would put forward for a vote. I think we might be better off with 2, because let's say hypothetically we come up with 3, and we 3 are divided. Then it makes it difficult when it goes forward for the vote for the other 4 counties. That is to say, the other, whatever it is, 12 county commissioners. But we can deal with that as we go along. So for next Monday, 6 names, does that work?
Yep.
Yes? Done. And you'll be speaking with Dr. McClandris.
Yes, right away.
Okay. Well, not now. Okay. Okay, item number 3. Optional forms of government ad hoc committee selection. Okay, so what we decided last week as a board vote that we would each provide 1 name, and that would make 3 people who would then proceed to recruit, if you will, 9 people for the study commission. Now, what I have to point out here, because there can be some potential misunderstanding, is ultimately code says we 3 appoint. So what the ad hoc committee would do is come up with the recommendation of the 9. Then we proceed to appoint, change, whatever the case may be. So are we ready?
So I guess I would still ask for more guidance for the 3 people, who are this ad hoc committee? Are they accepting applications? Are they going out and just picking their own? How is it that you envision them running things?
My understanding is that's up to them.
Yeah, I would agree. Let them decide. We appoint the three, and then amongst the three, they decide how they want to do it. Whether they want to collect resumes, however they choose to do it. That would probably be the best approach, to open it up so people can certainly apply. There is a good deal of interest.
I just see a lot of problems with this because, once again, it's if you're truly looking at a situation to get a broad representation and not giving them any sideboards, they could already have, you know, their people in mind.
So what would you recommend?
I probably would recommend that we open it up to application process.
Okay,
So
I'm good with that. Are you good with that?
Not really.
Okay.
I think that's exactly what we're talking about is sideboards and hamstringing. I mean, we need to give this group the largest latitude that we can.
which the study commission will have a large latitude per statute, but this ad hoc committee, without Jake's input, I don't know how he saw it running. I know he said that he preferred to see 5 people and not 3 people, but that's,
I don't know what special talent Jake brings to the table. I'm not really interested in what his opinion is.
yeah.
Well, and, no, go ahead, Leslie.
Oh, it's just his degree is in this type of government study.
Well, and I spoke with Jake on Friday. You know, he's not fixed in his opinion. And by the way, when we mentioned Jake, he's not speaking for the governor. He wrote on his own behalf as a private citizen. So I'm still fine with the 3. I don't have a problem in having the people apply. You're probably going to get the widest breadth.
I don't think that's necessarily the case, but an application is an application, and we take them for all other things we do. So I don't have a problem with that. It's just that we can kind of stretch this thing out for as long as we'd like to.
Well, no, and there's no point in doing that. Leslie?
I'm ready to hear Bill's nominee.
Dan Kuchen.
How about you?
Nancy Pluff.
So,
How about you, Nan? Come on.
Mark Eberline.
Okay.
That's
all right,
fine.
Good.
That's
So,
good.
But my question with Nancy, is it going to be during business hours, or is it going to be something on her own?
Why is that relevant?
Well, because I don't think taxpayer money should be spent on one of our employees doing this. Already, taxpayer money's been spent with all of our people, meetings and legal review and that kind of thing. So people are concerned about this study costing money. So having an employee be involved in this part of the process, I don't know. Going forward with the study commission, I think we just apply the statute about what we're supposed to supply to them.
Okay, I'm not concerned with that. I see the ad hoc committee's role taking probably 30 to 60 days, on the outside 60 days, preferably within 30 to 45 days. If they decide they want to meet in the evening, that's entirely up to them. One of the reasons I put Nancy's name forward is that she's not afraid to speak her mind. She's done that with the 3 of us. She can be objective. She is our analyst. And I don't have a concern there. It is still a county function. It is part of the job.
I don't have a problem either, and it's not 30 to 60 days continuous, right? It's
No,
over the
once
period
they
of.
complete their task, they're done.
Right.
Then the study commission takes over. Yep. So we have the 3 names by application, resume, however they choose to do that. I guess it'll probably be resume, but we'll leave that to them. So, all right then? Are we done?
Well, so we have to make a motion to accept these 3 names?
Yeah, you want to do that?
I make a motion that we accept the 3 names put forward for the ad hoc committee to do the selection for recommendation to the county board.
Okay, you want to state the names, please?
Dan Gookin, Mark Eberline, and Nancy Pluff.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the motion is carried. We move forward. Thank you. Okay. Item number 4, Consolidated Annual Financial Report discussion. Dina, the CAFR.
Thanks, Commissioners. So what you have before you is this lovely book. This is the culmination of 7 months of work by the Auditor's Office. A couple of weeks ago, I came before you with the budget book. This one differs. This one is actuals. So this is the fiscal year 2020, all the reports that were audited, the supplemental reports that weren't necessarily audited but are provided for you and for the taxpayers to review. This report is posted on our website under the Auditors section of the website. Anybody can go look at it, and we have CAFRs
ask you
dating
that. Go
back
ahead.
to, I think, 2006. There's quite a bit of information out there. So in the inside cover, I put together a little map for you, and I was going to go through and explain a lot of this, but for time's sake, I'll just hit this real lightly. So I put in here some terminology because I think it helps the viewer and it helps you as well. Our financial audit is where the auditors come in and they test our financials to make sure that they are reasonably stated, not exactly perfect. And the auditor's letter in here near the front talks about the opinion that they give. They render an opinion on our financial statements and if they are materially correct. And the Auditor's Office and our CAFR has received an unmodified audit going back. I don't think we have ever not had an unmodified audit, which means we have a clean financial audit based on material financial numbers. Now, there's a second audit in here near the back that has to do with our federal awards. So anything that's federal money, airport, transit, the big federal things, there's a separate audit for that, and there's an auditor's opinion there as well. So there's 2 audits in here. The main one is near the front. So in the introduction, it kind of gives highlights as to how the year went, links to the financials. The audit opinion is after that. And then we have what we call the MD&A, Management Discussion and Analysis. That's where Keith and I go into detail, talk about what's in the financials, include some graphs, some charts, just to give the reader a high level of the numbers and what they mean. Then we go into the basic financials. Those are what's audited. And then the notes, which gives the reader a background in how we account for things. So the notes spell out what our policies are, what we call a liability, what we call capital, those kinds of things. So it defines how we do our reporting. And then the required supplementary information is required, not necessarily audited. It's a little bit in more detail. We have a statistical section, which I think is very helpful, especially for taxpayers who have questions. Most of the things in the statistical section go back 10 years. So you have a 10-year trend of your mill rate, a 10-year trend of your property tax, 10-year trend of the biggest employers in Kootenai County, that kind of thing. So there's all kinds of demographics and really interesting statistics back there. And I think we get quite a few public records requests for those kinds of questions that can be answered in the CAFR. And then, of course, I said the single audit, the federal grant awards, is at the back. So what I've done, and I won't go through these, but on your map, I have color codes, and then I have color-coded tabs, which kind of talks about some of the more interesting things. The first one, the blue one, shows, if you open up to the first tab, we'll just look at this one. So what I did was, with a pencil, I went in and I drew an arrow from the bottom pie chart to the upper pie chart. So the bottom pie chart, the kind of blue-purple section says property tax, 62%. Mm-hmm. If you follow that arrow up, that's how that 62% was spent. So of the property tax revenue that we brought in, that's how it breaks down and how we spent it for 2020. So that just kind of gives you a view of, okay, well, what do we use the property tax piece for? Because a lot of the non-property tax money is in those restricted funds. So this is your general government. This is what drives our services. I won't go into some of the other ones, but you can see just the page numbers, the tab colors, and some of these other items. I think it's just really helpful, especially going into the budget, to kind of understand how we do business. And I think if you get questions from taxpayers, this is very helpful.
So it's so interesting when we say, so 62% of the property tax that we take in essentially funds $37.2 million, which is public safety.
Our budget, 62% of our budget is property tax.
62% of our budget, right.
And then of that property tax gets spent on those items
Okay.
up above. Yeah.
Okay.
So it used to be only 49 to 50%. Is that because our revenues were down because of COVID?
This is just 2020.
Okay.
So that's just how it shakes out at the end. That's budget amendments, property taxes brought in from prior years, late charges, that kind of thing. Yeah. I can also answer questions offline.
Okay, so basically, when
Sure.
we say 62% of the property tax, the property tax this year is approximately like 50 mil. Okay, so it's roughly the 62% of, I don't know whether
Of
it's
our
49.
entire budget,
Of the-
62% is made up of property tax. The other part of our budget is
Okay.
made up of non-property tax
Oh, so not the
items.
revenue portion.
No.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
I
we
thought that was
have,
talking
we have
revenues.
several sources of revenue. Of that,
Right.
62% is property tax, and that property tax is spent in certain ways.
Okay,
The biggest piece, of course, is public safety. That costs us the most. General government's the next. Public works is fairly small. Sanitation is small. Health and welfare. But mainly it's general government, and overwhelmingly public safety is where
Okay.
most of that money goes.
So when you say 62%, you're really talking about the budget, which
Full
is something
budget
like
of
99
revenue.
million of the, okay.
Right.
All right.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did you want to take us to another tab?
So let's see, statement of activities. Let's go to the next one, the green tab with
The
the
green
one on
one,
it.
yeah.
Okay, so this one's fun because it spreads over 2 pages.
Uh-huh.
This gives you at the far left the expenses according to the budget, the expenses that happened in 2020, and then as you go across to the right, there's all of the revenue sources, charges for services, operating grants, capital grants, government activities, solid waste, and then the total at the end, that 17 million in brackets there. That's the property tax piece that makes up the difference. So you have the total expenses at one end, and you have the property tax at the far other end. That's what the other revenue sources didn't cover. So that just kind of gives you a snapshot of where we're spending the money and how it's getting paid for. Notice that general government, 3.6 million operating grants are covering that. Up at the top for general government. And then that breaks down into high-level categories. Solid waste is kind of in the middle as you go down the page. And then it shows our component units, KCMS and North Idaho Fair. Keep in mind, North Idaho Fair is always 1 year behind because they're on a calendar year rather than a fiscal year.
Oh, that's right, yep.
So they're always 1 year behind. And then down at the bottom, it shows revenues, all the different revenue sources. So property tax, 54.2. And then miscellaneous, interest, and then selling assets fairly small. Transfers, that 800,000, that's solid waste. You see if you go to the right, the 800,000 is negative, so that came out of that solid waste column and went to the general fund as a transfer. And then at the bottom, it says change in net position. That's basically your change in fund balance, total. So you have a beginning position and an ending position. So you can see that at the end of everything, the fund balance changed by about 540,000 year over year. It changed by about 800,000 for solid waste. And then if you add those two together, it's about 1.3.
For the benefit of everyone in the room, can you explain just basically the difference, the enterprise nature of solid
Enterprise
waste?
nature,
Yeah.
yes. So the enterprise fund runs like a business, and it runs on a full accrual accounting basis. That means that we don't, like government, we don't just look from year to year. Solid waste has a long-term view. So if they have liabilities, it's liabilities all the way out to the end of time.
Right.
Whereas we just look at our costs year over year. So the enterprise fund is self-contained, it pays for itself. But they do give us money for services we provide to them as a cross-charge in the budget. So that's that 800,000 moving. But they basically stand alone. So that's pretty much the difference, and they're accounted for a little bit differently. And in these statements too, if you follow the tabs, there are reports year over year that show revenues, balance sheet, income statement, and cash flow statements for the enterprise fund. So you can kind of see, if you wanted to look at it as if it were a business, those reports are in there.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else? Questions for Dina?
Good job. I like the little,
Yeah, it helps to have a map.
sheet.
It's a big
That helps,
document.
Absolutely.
And I do encourage citizens to go out and check it out, because it is really helpful to understand what we do and where their money goes.
And government accounting is different from private.
It really is. It's almost like a cash basis.
Okay.
All right.
Leslie, any questions?
Nope.
Okay. Thank you, Dina. All right, let's go to our pending items list. All right, first item, ballot bond language. Leslie,
You're missing a page.
am I? Oh, yeah, there it is.
I thought that was a quick meeting.
Okay, county form of government, we already took care of that, yes? Okay, facilities expansion, Leslie?
Yeah, we're still waiting for the architect to give us the next set of, I don't want to call them plans, but they're concepts.
Okay. Pack Airport lease?
Haven't heard from Stephen about his review for what Wally gave him yet.
Okay. Still waiting from Stephen. Nancy? 1A, 1B, the upgrade for this room?
I heard from Josh on Friday, they're just about done with the engineering, we should touch probably this week.
And then we'll get the dates where we'll need to take vacation because we won't have any place to meet.
Right. Okay. Financial snapshot, that's next month now. Thank you. In fact, we just had one.
Actually, it'll be next Monday.
It'll be next Monday. That's right. Ballot bond language.
Yep, so just town hall's happening on Wednesday, and there really isn't,
March 31st.
yep, a couple days from now.
And you've got 2 sessions?
Yep, 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. right here in this room.
Okay. Building financing.
Legislature's been delayed, so now we're not going to know until near the third week of April.
Legislature delayed, okay. And then state of the county, we agreed that each of us would do a PowerPoint. Leslie, I think you gave your 3 items.
Yep, right there.
Bill, did,
I haven't done that yet, but I will.
okay. I'm going to handle 3 items, budget, taxes, and growth. And growth will involve some graphs on our permit increases and whatnot that David is struggling with. So I'll take those 3, budget, taxes, and growth. All right. So that takes care of that. That's the end of our agenda. Public comment. Does anyone wish to speak? Yeah. Aaron, go right ahead.
Hi, Erin Barnard, Coeur d'Alene. I actually just had a question. Leslie, are your 3 topics for the state of the county the same as Chris's or something else?
No, my topics are the new building, a bond, and my liaison groups, which I have 5.
Anyone else? It's your time. No? Okay, then. Yeah, come on. Name?
My name is William Lee. I live in
Okay.
Brooklyn. So I just wanted to address the optional government that we wanted to do. I think we all kind of know that Bill Brooks. I think we all kind of know
There you go.
that Bill Brooks wants to pursue this, and he seems very focused, even though he does kind of maintain a sort of a passive demeanor during the past meetings that we've had. I do think that's a little bit weird. I mean, if you want something and we're very focused, it seems like this thing is moving, right? It's gonna happen, okay? The question, why? Why are we doing this? Right? If we have something that's working, right? Why are we changing it? Say if we wanted to, the courthouse, the public defender building, we have reasons for it, right? We can articulate it. I can give you the long form, I can give you a short form, I can give you a lead line, exactly why I want this. With this optional forms of government, nothing exists. There's a lot of like no's, there's a lot of like kind of like secretive, like we don't know what's, like why this thing is even happening, but it seems like it's moving. I just want to express that I don't understand this. I think the public, the citizens of Kootenai deserve a clear answer why this is happening, so that I'm not saying that this is a bad idea, inherently bad. It's good to reevaluate and analyze things, right? But there should be some kind of mooring to guide this, but there's nothing. And I think the citizens of Kootenai deserve a clear answer. So we can support this or scrutinize it properly. This form of government, we elect you guys to represent us, and I think we deserve this. I don't think I don't think this has been clear thus far. That's all I wanted to say.
Did you want to respond?
No. Pardon? Why? Because I'm not going to sit there and get into a debate, okay? No. That's why.
Yeah. But, yes, please.
Okay, I'm
You-
Laura Van Voorhees. And I would like to know why you want to, and it doesn't have to be a debate, it just needs to be a clear answer.
Their answer is, I want to be able to have a discussion with my fellow commissioners, and with 3 commissioners, I can't do that without having a private meeting that needs to be noticed. It's a quorum.
Explain that to me.
Well, that's the problem. If I have an issue that I want to discuss, not deliberate on, but discuss with Chris or Leslie, and I do that, there'll be people going, you just held a meeting without notice, you had a quorum of the board, it's not legal.
Okay, but why can't you do it in the public forum where it's legal?
Sometimes we can, but you can't rely on just that to get business done. If there's 5 commissioners or 7, you can do that. That's what most deliberating bodies do, is they discuss things. They don't deliberate. They don't decide how they're gonna vote, but they can kick around ideas. That's a good thing.
So what alternative form of government do you recommend?
Well, there you go. I don't know. There's a number of them open to us by
Yeah.
state statute.
7.
And, okay, and that's exactly what the study commission is going to look at and come out with a recommendation.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's it.
thank you.
Nobody's
Appreciate
hiding
your answer.
anything.
Oh, I didn't suggest
Okay.
there was,
Yeah.
I just have never,
just-
I'm new here and I
Okay.
just never heard why you want to change it.
That's one good reason.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, then. 11:37, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.